Day 12,469, bro. Okay. Alright. I got that out. I might be 34 years old, but I guess I still have the humor of somebody 2 decades younger than me. Hey! Jesus. It's that long ago that I was 14. Holy shit. 2 decades ago. So yeah, what am I going to talk about today? Excuse me. Time. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I realized that I graduated high school almost half my life ago now, which is really fucking weird to think about. 15 years ago. 15 fucking years ago. If I subtract the amount of time that I graduated, the amount of time that's passed since I graduated high school from my age when I graduated high school, I would have been 2 years old. That's really fucking weird to think about. Yeah, time in it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I had a really, I guess I'll just talk about this. I had a really weird stoner thought today, despite being sober. I guess maybe it was just sleep deprivation thought would be a better descriptor of it. But I woke up this morning kind of in a half asleep daze, and it sort of occurred to me, and this might be totally ridiculous and stupid, but if the universe doesn't have any definitive end to it, which, truth be told, kind of actually seems to be the case. I don't know if it's truth be told. Speculation be told. Kind of seems to be the case that, yeah, sure, entropy is a thing and the universe is gradually working its way towards unraveling and all that shit. The thing is, though, that doesn't mean the universe is going to cease to exist. It just means that, like, this iteration of it's going to kind of just cool off, literally and metaphorically speaking. But there's people that speculate, like, oh, and then that's it. Just from one point, there's just going to be the heat death of the universe, and then just things are just going to sit around and nothing's going to happen. And I don't know. I think that's a pretty big assumption to just think that things are going to stay that way. To me, that kind of, in my opinion, seems almost as silly as thinking that when the planet hits winter, that's just the end of seasons. Like, oh, it's the heat death of the climate, and that's it. Now we're in winter, and it's just gonna be forever winter. And then what? Holy shit! What's this? Summer? What the fuck? Whoa! Where'd that come from? I kind of feel like the universe might be the same way. That heat death of the universe is just like cosmic winter, basically, and then afterwards maybe it just resets itself as like another Big Bang or some shit like that. That being said, I kind of wonder this whole notion that, like, this is where things get very bizarre that I was thinking about, is like this notion of just how molecules, as far as we can tell, are immortal, and the entire notion of impermanence and things kind of falling apart and all that stuff is really just an illusion. I mean, fundamentally, reality is just molecules being molecules, just going around doing this, doing that, and we're just kind of assigning arbitrary meaning to it all with our own molecules that make up our brain and all that shit, which is very strange to think about, especially when you think that the act of thinking is in and of itself a generation caused by neurological molecules. It's all very fucking weird. But I basically, the reason I'm bringing this shit up is I was thinking, like, if molecules just exist for eternity, as far as we can tell, and they're just doing molecule-y shit, does that just mean that, like, in the grand scheme of eternity, using the whole, like, monkey on a typewriter logic, does that mean that it's just inevitable that eventually something will happen and the universe will just reset itself or make some other iteration? Like, isn't it more probable that molecules will do something at some point rather than just sit around doing nothing for the eternity of the heat death of the universe? And not only that, does that also mean in the grand scheme of eternity that eventually all these molecules are going to, like, reassemble themselves as not even necessarily just humans again, but just other sentient life forms and shit like that down the line, like equivalent to our intelligence or higher? But even weirder to think about is, if that's true, does that mean that basically you might be reassembled again, or I might be reassembled again? Maybe not in the next iteration of the universe, or even the one after that, or even for like 7 trillion years. But at some point, those molecules, hell, even the molecules that compose your body as it is right now, although that obviously shifts throughout your entire life, which is a whole other mind fuck about the whole ship of Theseus thing. I mean, I guess your brain molecules stay intact, but the body molecules have completely changed over the course of your life, which is very fucking weird to think about, that you're not the same molecules that you were when you were a baby, or even just a few years ago, frankly. But does that mean that eventually, like, yeah, some molecules are going to come together and make your exact consciousness again, and basically your exact same identity again, and your exact same self-awareness again, and basically just be you again? Like, maybe it might be another version of you at some point. Maybe it'd be a slightly different, maybe it'll be another consciousness in your body at some point, or a slightly different variation of you. But in the grand scheme of eternity, doesn't that mean that eventually, kind of like, again, with the monkey and the typewriter knowledge, like, even if it takes 7 quintillion years, eventually you're going to be existent again at some point, as you are. And not even just that, but as you are doing exactly what you did in this life. And there's a possibility that this right now is just another instance of that happening. And for all you know, you might have done this very life, behaved this exact same way. Maybe sometimes you had a slight little variation, but you could have been doing this exact same life in this exact same way 7 quintillion times before. There's nothing to say that this isn't the 7 quintillionth iteration of the universe. Yeah, the more I start thinking about that, the more it makes my head hurt, and I can understand why, because it's fucking bizarre to think about. Especially when I bring in the notion of, like, if this is just a reiteration of myself that has been done tons of times before, that even the act of me speculating this has been done 7 quintillion times before, and is just an illusion of speculation, and isn't even a real thing either. It's all just illusionary. Like, this entire... everything that led up to the point for me to even have this ridiculous thought is all just predetermined. But also not really, because there was another iteration of myself that never even had this thought enter their head, and just kind of maybe just had another normal, boring day and just went through that. It's very fucking weird. I don't know. Okay, like, yeah, you can go insane just thinking about stuff like this. But yeah, speaking of, like, molecules, it's actually very interesting when one looks at reality as literally just molecules shifting around doing molecule shit, that it really does become evident that time is just nothing. It is absolute bullshit. That there is really no such thing as progression from a beginning to an end in this universe. Because really, I feel like it's more accurate to view reality as, like, a giant cosmic, like, ball of clay, fundamentally. Like an incredibly massive, potentially, like, infinitely large ball of clay that's just shifting around from mysterious forces and contorting itself into different forms that it assigns its own meaning to. I actually have realized, maybe this is my very pseudo-intellectual kind of pretentious way of viewing it, but I've viewed not only reality as, like, being a weird cosmological shifting ball of clay, but as far as, like, meaning goes to our reality, I've started to come to the conclusion that I think we, as conscious entities, and frankly, maybe even seemingly unconscious entities, that we're all just the misfiring neurons in the mind of a schizophrenic god. And that is what reality is. It's just one giant, completely insane entity that's seemingly vastly infinite and endless, that is just in a constant struggle of trying to contemplate itself and bring up meaning for itself in a bittersweet harmony of just solipsistic insanity. And that's why I say, like, it isn't necessarily a miserable thing. Like, this is, maybe schizophrenia is, like, not the right term, because that always has kind of a negative connotation. Because it is, from what I can tell, a pretty negative condition to have. But maybe it's more like a perpetually drug-tripping god. So it's kind of the highs and lows. It's like, it really is, like, psychedelic for the best and the worst. Like, it's just, this mind is, this god mind, or whatever the fuck we're all trapped in, at least from what I can see, from what I can speculate, is just, yeah, sometimes it has fantastic trips, and sometimes it has the worst fucking trips possible. And then in and of itself, it's got sub-minds, like us, like you watching it, like me talking to you, that are just not only individual neurons, but also have their own fucking thought processes. Yeah, it's very strange. It's very fucking strange. Like, I mean, to really, like, kind of bring that down to scale a little bit, it's always weird to think about the notion of just you or me and how, like, and a lot of people have talked about this, that the illusion of self is bullshit, but not just, like, in the sense of, like, free will being an illusion, but the fact that, like, there's this whole notion of, like, the shadow self and the conscious self and all that shit, and da 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 da. Like, and there's this whole notion of, like, oh, the self is an illusion because we're all part of one greater whole, and that's kind of what I said about with the whole, like, we're just weird misfiring neurons in an insane god's mind. But I would actually think that, and that basically, like, we're all just part of one whole. I actually think it's almost kind of the opposite. I almost feel like, even though we are technically maybe all connected in some way, I think it's more accurate to describe that actually the illusion of separateness doesn't go far enough. Actually, that we're incredibly separate entities. That even you individually are just a Frankensteinian amalgamation of just all sorts of shit bundled together. I know I recorded something talking about this before, but I don't think I ever uploaded that video because I just wasn't happy about how it went. But fuck it, I'm going to talk about it today. Where, I'm pretty sure I didn't upload it. Where, like, it's this notion that, like, basically all the desires you have and decisions you make, it's not only just, like, yeah, like I said, it's not just the conscious self and the unconscious self. I think it's way more than that. I think that the most accurate depiction I've ever seen of a brain was in the movie Inside Out. But I don't even think that goes far enough, because that was just, like, with emotions. I think that really is what you are, though. You're just a bunch of sub-minds trying to get along in one collective mind. It's not just 2 selves, 3 selves, 4 selves, 5 selves. I think it's, like, for a lot of people, it's like fucking 50 selves, basically. And whatever decisions you happen to make, whatever desires you make, it's just whoever happens to, for whatever reason, have the most control at the fucking control panel of your mind at one point. But it's kind of like, I mean, it's sort of like how, like, the rest of your body's like that. How you're not just one organism. You're an organism with, like, literally billions of other organisms inside of you. You've got all this fucking bacteria inside of you and stuff. Your cells are themselves kind of all their own organisms as well. They're just working together. And sometimes they're not working together. That's when you get shit like cancer or, like, autoimmune illnesses. I mean, if you really want to think about it in a weird way, when you get stuff like that, that's almost like your body having, like, if your body was like a country, it'd almost be like your country having, like, a rebellion amongst its population. It's people that are no longer willing to work along with the objective of your body nation, and they've decided to go rogue on you. I mean, unlike those things, they don't seem to really have a purpose in it other than to just have gone haywire. Unless one wants to grant the purpose to something like that as being like, oh no, it just willingly wants to just destroy your body because why, whatever reason, it just wants to bring an end to you and itself in the process. So maybe it's like death cultist anarchists have just rebelled in your body, and that's what happens when you get, like, an autoimmune illness or, like, cancer, or I think for that matter almost like dementia and shit like that, like mental afflictions and shit like that. It's just your brain neurons deciding to go fucking rogue on you. But that seems to be more like wear and tear, from what I understand. I don't know, because I'm not a fucking doctor in that regard. Anyways, this whole fucking discussion with myself has opened up a whole can of worms. But I think the last thing I wanted to say is about this whole notion of, like, yeah, the illusion of the self, and to sort of, I think, build on that. And so I think I've realized the fact that we are just a weird Frankensteinian mishmash of stuff, trying to interact with and get along with other Frankensteinian mishmashes of other people out there, other selves, which really they're not, and all that shit. And on top of that, just a reality that is oftentimes just very oppositional towards us, which is always strange that we're of this reality, but at the same time we're so in struggle with it. It's very fucking weird to think about that. Like, why the fuck, if we're of this earth, why do we have such conflict with it? It's just so weird that we're not just naturally in tune with it. I mean, some might argue that people used to be, and that it's modernity that's made it difficult. And it's like, I don't think people have ever really been properly in tune with reality. I think the natural instinct is to struggle in this planet. It's to have a difficult time of surviving and, you know, always, like, avoiding, like, inevitable things like death and, you know, just other hardships, you know, just pain and stuff like that. And this world delivers that in abundance. But I feel like if we were of this world, we would be, like, weirdly okay with that, and we're not. Like, it's just strange how, like, why the fuck do we even fear death? It's just strange to me that that is like an integral part of life, and yet the vast majority of people fear death. The vast majority of people fear pain. They fear this, they fear that. Like, either I would feel like if we were in tune with this world, either we'd be totally fine with all that shit, or that stuff wouldn't exist in the first place. And I know this whole thing is just going all over the fucking place. I'm not really seeming to make a point here, but guess what? Of course I'm going all over the place because I'm not really one person. I'm just trying to speculate all sorts of nonsense shit right now in my Frankensteinian self. So bear with me, or don't. Fucking watch something else. I don't know. I don't give a shit. But maybe a little part of me gives a shit, but most of me doesn't give a shit. The majority of me, the democratic majority of myself, does not give a shit. Anyways, to get to my point finally, because I'm even starting to get annoyed with how much I'm rambling. I've realized that, like, if everybody existed in a reality where everybody was on, like, where all their selves were on, like, the same page, there would be no suffering anymore. The only reason suffering ever exists is because not every potential conscious agenda is on the same page. Like, for instance, if every person who's an alcoholic existed in a reality where everybody else was an alcoholic, and not just that, but like the physical reality itself was conducive to that, wherein, like, for instance, it was impossible to ever have a fatal accident if you have, like, if you drink and drive, or to have an accidentally fatal bar fight if you do that. Like, the worst you get a little bit bruised up, but it's like, ha, whatever, you laugh it off the next day. And if also, like, your body actually not only was poisoned by was rather not poisoned by alcohol, but actually, like, was rejuvenated by it. Like, if you had some weird organs that actually got healthy sustenance off of drinking, and also on top of that, like, all of culture was revolved around people being alcoholics, but everybody was on board with that. Like, if you're just in the drinking dimension, then there'd be nothing wrong with being an alcoholic, because everybody would be fine with that. It would just be like the norm. It's kind of like, and this is a very nerdy comparison, but this is just to kind of put in perspective. So I'm a big fan of Warhammer because I'm a fucking nerd. And there's these demons of chaos in it. And the main demons of chaos are Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Khorne. And they are respectively, Tzeentch is like the god of, like, change and magic and stuff like that. Nurgle's the god of, like, pestilence and decay and rot. Slaanesh is the god of, like, hedonism and self-indulgence and stuff like that. And then Khorne is the god of, like, warfare, brutality, and like murder and stuff like that. Anyways, so each of these things is like, there's like a good side and a bad side of both of them, but they're more so portrayed as being, because they're demons, they're more so portrayed in negative light, even though they technically have kind of good properties. Like Tzeentch is, again, he's like magic and knowledge. That's a good thing, not just something that's about change and chaos and nonsense. And like Nurgle might be the god of death and decay, but he's also like the god of, like, life and rebirth in a sort of morbid sense. Slaanesh is also the god, like, in addition to being the god of, like, debauchery and hedonism and sadism, he's also the god of, like, art and sexuality in a positive sense and a negative sense. And then Khorne, despite just being a murder god, is also a god of, like, martial prowess and, like, honor and bravery and shit like that. But again, they're portrayed as demons. That being said, and I'm finally getting to my point here, this is about the whole, like, the alcohol dimension, and why nobody would be suffering if they were alcohol entities in the alcohol dimension where everything was fine. Each of these people, each of these demons, realms of chaos, is, like, freaky to fucking mortal beings because they are not of that place, unless they, like, you know, avow themselves to chaos and try to serve them. But to the average mortal person, it'd be terrifying to be stuck in one of these realms. That being said, those demons in that realm are totally fucking on board with it. Like, I'll take Nurgle specifically, because he's got, like, the nastiest fucking realm. It's just a fucking rot fest of disgusting shit. People, like, having every possible disease known to mankind afflicted on them. And, like, they're just oozing and shit and vomit and just, like, the most disgusting, vile, nasty-ass shit one can imagine. Just all the filth and decay and pestilence one can think of. Just imagine that as, like, an entire dimension of existence. Sounds horrible to, like, you or me or any other normal person. That being said, if you're a demon from that realm and you are of that, you are of pestilence, decay, rot, and mess, you're having a grand old fucking time. And you can see it. They're smiling, they're laughing, they're just swimming in a river of vomit and feces, but they think it's fucking great because they are of that. So, from their perspective, that's totally grand. That's paradise. That's heaven. So, it's not that there's anything inherently wrong with being in the shit feces vomitorium. Vomitorium is actually nothing to do with that. The horrible, nasty, vile, disgusting puke realm. It's just that it's our, like, conflicting agenda as mortal beings is the only reason we have a problem with that. If we were ourselves vomit shit feces demons, we'd have no problem being in the vomit shit feces hell world. So that's basically it. It's not, basically nothing is inherently bad, period, conceptually. It's just our conflicting agenda with it that is the problem. Like, even for instance, this whole notion of, like, the nightmarish notion of being trapped in, like, a dark blank void for eternity. That's, like, something that always freaks people out, I think. You know, just to be stuck. Like, imagine if you just got teleported to a dark void, but we're still conscious. And there's nothing. There's no sensory stimulation, nothing like that for eternity. You're just stuck in a black void. It sounds horrifying, right? The only reason that's horrifying, though, is because your fucking brain tells you it's horrifying. If your brain was like, this is fucking awesome, and just make you feel amazing, and was just totally on board with just being in a void of nothingness, and conscious about it, but just loved it, like made you feel like you're on ecstasy times 1,000, and just loved the peace and silence of it all, it would be paradise. It's only because your brain tells you it's not paradise that it's not paradise. So I guess that at the end of the day, at the end of this ridiculous rant, your brain is the source of all your fucking problems. That's it. It's your fucking brain. And the sad thing is, there's only so much you can do to really change your brain. You can, of course you can, to some degree. But then again, to wrap around to the very beginning, to sound like a complete nut job, is I'm not even sure if we have any free will in the first place. So maybe you really can't change your fucking brain because your lack thereof control. Oh my god, I can't even talk now. Your control or lack thereof control of your brain has already been predetermined. So maybe you really don't fucking have control of your brain, just like you don't have control over anything else in this reality. Who the fuck knows? But hey, you know what? Whether or not you have a choice or not in it, pretend you do. And who gives a shit if you pretending to think you have a choice or not a choice with predetermined or not? Because who gives a fuck at the end of the day? It's all an illusion, and you can't control it. You can't control whether you have control or not. And I'm going to make the choice right now to put an end to this. Or the illusion of a choice to put an end to this. Because this really is fucking nonsense. It's been a while since I've had a really nonsensical ramble, I think. So that was nice. Wow, this ended up being a pretty long video. Fucking A. I think I'll just leave it at that. Last thing I'll just say, I decided to record this because I got my ass kicked in Darkest Dungeon 2. And if anybody gives a shit about that, not that many people give a shit about these videos, period, but I always say that. Shut up. I'm going to stop saying that. Who cares that nobody cares? I don't care. Whatever. Shut up. And yeah, fuck, that game is just, I just want to say that game is fucking difficult, and it pisses me off. I'm not good at it. I played it for a long fucking time, and I'm still bad at it. But it's a great game. It's got great art style. It's tough as shit. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I think I just wanted to rant about that game. It's just fucking love-hate relationship with that game. It just pisses me the fuck off. I thought it was doing really well, and then it kicked me right in the fucking dick. So, god damn it. Fuck, shit, fuck. I'm pissed off. But I feel like ranting about something unrelated helped me alleviate my stress over getting my ass kicked in a stupid video game. Except it's not stupid. It's actually a smart video game. I'm just not smart enough for it, so I'm going to call it stupid. And I'm just going to cool off a bit. Maybe I'll try another run. I need to fucking beat this goddamn game mode because they're about to update it again, and I want to beat the fucking. Okay, I'm playing Kingdoms mode for anybody who's played Darkest Dungeon 2, and I fucking suck at it. I suck at it. I fucking suck at it. I can't even fucking beat the first iteration of it. I don't know why I'm talking about this because I'm pretty sure nobody who's watching this has probably played Darkest Dungeon 2. It's a pretty obscure fucking indie game, so why am I even talking about this? Well, really, I'm probably talking about this for my future self if I ever watch these videos, because that's, again, why I make these videos for the most part. Anyways, I'm done. I feel more cooled off. I feel relaxed after getting my ass kicked. It was very frustrating, but that's all right. It's about the journey, not the destination. The journey of sadomasochistic pain pleasure. That is that fucking game. And that is life as a whole, frankly. For what is life but not just one giant dark dungeon that we all slog our way through only to get probably very disappointingly killed off in the end before we find true satisfaction in it. Some of us find satisfaction, but most of us get offed before it's our time, or before when we think it should be our time. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna shut up. That was a weird way to end this. Wow. I thought I was supposed to keep these at 10 minutes, and look at this shit. It's fucking 25 minutes long. Yeah, that's that. I think. Oh yeah, I didn't go to salsa class today. Fuck. I can't believe, am I gonna really go to a salsa class? It sounds so ridiculous. That's so not me. Nah. I'll do it next week. I couldn't today anyways. That's my excuse. Like you care. Like anybody cares. Nobody cares. Whatever. Alright, I'm done. Bye.